Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa, and I'm 28 years old. Many people often ask why I'm still single, and I think it's time I share my story. A few years ago, I wasn't single. I was happily married to the man I believed was my dream come true. But as life often teaches us, not all dreams unfold as we envision. My marriage, which once felt perfect, crumbled when I uncovered a startling truth about my husband, Henry. At first, everything seemed idyllic. Like many great romances, Henry and I began as good friends. The moment I laid eyes on him, I couldn't look away. My best friend, Julie, noticed my instant attraction. One day at work, I excitedly approached her desk. "Hey, Julie, have you seen the new guy, Henry? He's seriously handsome, isn't he?" I asked. Julie chuckled. "Oh, I noticed him. He's definitely a catch. And look at you. You've got that sparkle in your eye." I blushed and brushed it off. "What? No, I just think he's good looking. That's all." "Sure, just good looking," she teased. "Melissa, you should go talk to him. You're both single, and it seems like fate is nudging you. You won't know unless you try." She had a point, but what if he's not interested? Confidence is key. Just be yourself and start a conversation. You never know where it might lead. Encouraged by Julie, I decided to take a chance. During our break, I spotted Henry struggling with the coffee machine and seized the moment to help him. "Here you go," I said, handing him a cup of coffee. "Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Melissa." I introduced myself. "Hi, Melissa. I'm Henry. If you don't mind, maybe we could grab some snacks after work and chat more." I felt a rush of eagerness in my reply, instantly regretting it. But before I could backtrack, Henry smiled warmly. "Why not? How could I refuse such a beautiful invitation?" That was the beginning of our dating journey, which blossomed into something more. We shared many beautiful moments together, like sitting on a park bench where Henry looked at me with such love, making me feel cherished. We even joked about our first meeting at that very spot. However, as you know, life can be unpredictable, and the perfect picture I had of my marriage eventually shattered. By sharing my story, I hope others can understand that the paths we take often teach us important lessons about love and resilience. Of course I remember, Melissa. How could I forget that day? It completely changed my life. You always manage to make me blush, don't you? "Well, it's easy when I'm looking at the most beautiful person in the world," I replied with a smile. "Stop it, Henry. You're going to make me melt," I said, feeling overwhelmed with affection. "Melissa, there's something I've been wanting to ask you," Henry said, his voice filled with emotion. "What is it, Henry?" I asked, my heart racing. "Melissa, I love you more than anything in this world. Will you make me the happiest man alive and marry me?" He proposed, his eyes shining with hope. I was ecstatic, nearly screaming with joy. Henry was the most handsome and kind-hearted man I had ever met, bringing joy to every moment we shared. At that moment, I felt as if I had received the most precious gift I could ever long for. "Yes, Henry, a big yes," I exclaimed, wrapping my arms around him tightly as we sealed our love with a passionate kiss. It was a beautiful beginning to our journey toward marriage and whatever lay ahead. I was so excited and I could hardly contain myself. I had to tell my best friend Julie. "You won't believe what just happened. Henry proposed to me and I said yes." "What? That's incredible. But aren't you two just starting to date? Maybe you should take some more time to think about it," Julie cautioned. "I know it might seem fast, Julie, but when you just know. Henry and I share something special, something deep. I can feel it in my heart," I explained. "I understand that, but marriage is a significant step. You need to ensure you're on the same page about everything." "You've only been dating for a short time," Julie replied, her concern evident. Julie, I know it seems quick, but I've never been more certain about anything in my life. Henry and I have discussed our dreams, our values, and our future. We truly are on the same page, and I can see how much he loves me. I reassured her. Well, if you're sure about it, and he makes you happy, then that's what matters most. Just remember, I'm here for you no matter what, Julie said, her unwavering support comforting me. Thank you, Julie. Your support means the world to me. I genuinely believe this is the right decision. I'm so excited about our future together, I told her, feeling grateful and optimistic. We married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by close friends and family, and it felt like all our dreams had come true. As we exchanged vows and rings, it marked the beginning of our new life together. From that moment on, I wholeheartedly believed our life together would be nothing short of perfect. That first year truly felt like an enchanting adventure. We were deeply immersed in the blissful honeymoon phase, almost like characters in a fairy tale, enveloped in love and wonder. We cherished countless sweet moments, staying up late into the night, sharing our hopes and dreams. It felt like we were living in a storybook. But as they often say, time has a way of peeling back the layers to reveal the true essence of things. As more time passed and we settled into the rhythm of married life, the initial dazzle began to fade. We started to notice each other's flaws and quirks, akin to seeing the imperfect parts of a beloved flower, still beautiful, yet not without its blemishes. I began to feel somewhat neglected by Henry. There was one evening, not long after a trivial argument that had blown out of proportion the night before, when the tension in the living room was palpable. I couldn't ignore the growing distance between us any longer, so I knew it was time to clear the air. Henry, we need to talk, I said, urgency evident in my voice. What's on your mind? He replied, his eyes avoiding mine. You've been so distant lately. You're always on your phone, coming home late, and you've canceled our date nights for weeks now. Henry hesitated, falling back on his usual excuse. It's just work, Melissa. You know how stressful it's been. I understand work can be tough, but it feels like you're hiding something from me. Are we okay? I pressed, seeking reassurance. Of course we're okay. It's just that I've been dealing with a lot and didn't want to burden you with it, he said, still avoiding my gaze. Henry, we're supposed to share everything. When you're hurting, I'm hurting too. Please talk to me, I pleaded. Let's not turn this into another fight like last night. I need to focus on work today, he said dismissively, effectively shutting down the conversation. That exchange left me heartbroken. I had hoped we could resolve our issues, but it became clear that it wasn't the right time to dig deeper. Then one quiet day at the office, Julie approached me, noticing my somber mood. Hey, Melissa, what's wrong? You look so sad, she said with concern. Julie, I've been noticing something lately, and it's bothering me. Henry has been distant and seems to be ignoring me. I confided, the weight of my worries heavy in my tone. We're just not like we used to be. Oh, Melissa, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe he's going through something tough right now. You know, sometimes people need a little space to sort out their issues, Julie suggested gently. Yeah, I've considered that, but it's just so unlike him. We used to share everything, and now it feels like he's closing himself off, I replied, confusion and hurt evident in my voice. It's important to keep the lines of communication open, Melissa. Maybe approach him gently and ask if everything is okay. Let him know you're there for him no matter what. Sometimes just knowing someone cares can make a difference, Julie advised. You're right, Julie. I'll give him some space for now, but I plan to have a calm conversation with him soon. I really miss how things used to be between us, I admitted, longing for the closeness we once had. I'm sure you too can work through this. Relationships have their ups and downs, but with love and understanding, You'll find your way back to each other," Julie encouraged, offering me a hopeful smile. "Thank you, Julie," I replied, feeling a little better after our talk. Over the next few days, I tried to maintain my composure at home, but tensions were rising. Julie was preoccupied with her own issues, which meant we couldn't spend much time together, and she seemed a bit off whenever we did talk. Eventually, she called me out for coffee, and of course I agreed, eager for any support from my best friend. As we sat in the cafe, sipping our drinks, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "Julie, you've been acting strange lately. Is there something you're not telling me?" I asked, concern creeping into my voice. "Melissa, promise you won't get angry," she began, her tone serious, which immediately put me on edge. "What's going on, Julie?" "You're scaring me," I pressed, needing to understand what was happening. "Well, I overheard Angela talking on the phone the other day. She mentioned meeting up with a married man," Julie confessed, her eyes avoiding mine. "Angela? Why would she be involved with a married man?" I questioned, puzzled and increasingly anxious. "Melissa, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I think it might be Henry," Julie said slowly, her voice trembling under the weight of her suspicion. "What? Henry? Are you sure?" I gasped, my heart sinking. "I'm not certain, but the pieces seem to fit, and it terrifies me to even think about it," Julie admitted. "This can't be true." "But now you've made your decision, and that doesn't change what you did." "What happens next is up to me," I said, my voice steady yet filled with a mix of anger and resolution. As I spoke, Henry's expression shifted, and Angela, on the verge of tears, looked utterly lost. I held no ill will towards her. She was just a young girl caught in a situation far beyond her maturity. But Henry, that was a different story. And Henry, that's not the only reason I was laughing. "There's more to reveal," I continued, pausing for effect. "If you're with Angela and you no longer love me, then there's no reason for me to stay. It's time for us to move on. This isn't what I had planned, but sometimes things just don't turn out the way we expect." My decision was clear. I left the house Henry and I had shared, knowing he had married me for my property and expecting that he would soon realize the full implications of his actions. I went to Julie's home, where we sat in her cozy living room, anxiously waiting for Henry's inevitable call. As expected, my phone finally rang. "Hello, Henry. What do you want now?" I answered, my voice cool and detached. "I want to say sorry. Julia got attracted to Angela, but I've come to understand the importance of Melissa's love," he blurted out, desperation lacing his tone. "Shut up, Henry. You are so shameless," I replied. "Please, Julie, can I talk to Melissa for a while?" he pleaded. I took the phone from Julie, feeling a tumultuous mix of anger and resignation. "What is it, Henry?" "I'm sorry for whatever I've done, Melissa," he said, his voice pleading. "Come on, Henry, don't make me laugh." "Looks like you found out about the power of attorney you just lost," I replied, my voice firm, signaling the final closure of our chapter together. His confession of infidelity hit hard, and his silence on the phone only added to the gravity of the situation. "Henry, did you think you could do this without any consequences?" I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "Melissa, yes, that's right. I found out before you could tell me." I cut off Henry's stammering attempts at an apology. I sensed something was off, and I was no longer a naive person. There was no room for love in my heart for someone who betrayed me. "Melissa, please, I'm sorry." "I have nothing left." Henry's voice trailed off, his excuses sounding weak and unconvincing. "I wish you had thought about that before," I replied sharply. "Don't expect anything from me now." With that, I ended the call. Julie looked at me, her expression a mix of pride and sympathy. It took me weeks to begin moving past that incident. Letting go of someone you once loved deeply is never easy, even when betrayal casts a long shadow over those memories. But I knew I had to choose what was best for me, and I focused on moving forward with my life, bolstered by the unwavering support of my best friend. "Julie, thank you for being there for me through all of this," I said one day as we shared a quiet moment of reflection. "Of course, Melissa. You're stronger than you think. I'm glad to see you rebuilding your life," Julie responded, her encouragement warming my heart. "Yeah, I got that job offer I've always wanted." "It's amazing." I beamed, a sense of accomplishment filling me. "I've realized I don't need someone who betrays my trust. I'm better off without Henry." "You've come a long way," Julie agreed, her voice full of admiration. It had been a few months since those painful events, and both Julie and I were trying to mend our spirits and heal. Then unexpectedly, Angela appeared at Julie's door. She looked exhausted and burdened, as if the weight of her own experiences with Henry had finally caught up to her. She hesitated at the threshold, probably wondering how Julie would react. Despite my residual anger, I knew Angela deserved a chance to explain herself. With a deep sigh, I gestured for her to come inside. "Julie, I need to talk to you," Angela said, her voice weary. I could see the fatigue in her eyes and the slump of her shoulders. Despite my frustrations, I didn't want the situation to escalate into something worse. It seemed Angela might have left Henry, or perhaps he had pushed her away, just as he had done with me. Either way, she looked like she needed understanding, not judgment. I gestured for Angela to sit down, hoping that a conversation might help us untangle the complex web of emotions and events that had brought us here. As she settled into the seat, her first words were an admission of regret. "I made a terrible mistake, Julie, but now I want to correct it. I left Henry, and I came back because he's bankrupt now. His bad habits finally caught up with him," Angela confessed, her voice trembling. "Why should we care?" Julie snapped, her anger palpable. I understood her feelings. After all, Angela's actions had deeply hurt us both. Yet as I looked at Angela, I remembered how isolating it felt to leave Henry, how alone I had been. Motivated by this memory, I found myself speaking up, hoping to bridge the gap between Julie's anger and Angela's distress. "Julie, please let her explain," I urged gently. "Angela, I know I hurt you and Melissa deeply, and I regret it every day. But I also believe that family should stick together in tough times, and I have nowhere else to go," Angela pleaded, her voice cracking with emotion. "Angela, you chose your path when you got involved with Henry. I can't just forget how you contributed to breaking Melissa's heart," Julie retorted, her gaze stern. Caught between my care for both Julie and Angela, I felt a profound tension. I had always believed that forgiveness could alleviate pain, not just for the forgiven, but for the forgiver as well. Perhaps it was time to let go of the bitterness that was only serving to poison us further. "Julie, I forgive her." Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about letting go of the anger that weighs us down. "It's part of moving on," I explained, hoping my words would resonate. "Angela, I am genuinely sorry for what I did. I'll do whatever it takes to make amends," Angela added earnestly. "I need time to think," Julie replied, her voice thick with emotion as she tried to process everything. Angela left shortly after, and all I could hope for was that, in time, Julie might find it within herself to forgive Angela, not for Angela's sake, but for her own peace. The real fault lay with Henry, and he was already facing the consequences of his actions. Yet the emotional scars he left behind lingered, the betrayal leaving me with a deep-seated mistrust, particularly towards men, which I still struggled to overcome. Recovering from such betrayal is a slow and often painful process. However, amidst the tumult, I discovered a new sense of emotional independence. I was learning to rely more on myself and finding strength in my autonomy. And that was something to be grateful for.